Top of the morning to you, wig lovers. This is Heather from CysterWigs.com, and I'm kicking off what I hope will become a regular Monday morning sort of series for you. This is a taped Ask Me Anything session. What I hope to achieve here is that if there are any deep dark secrets of the wig world, or if there are any styling tips or anything like that you really are curious about, or you just want to know why things are done the way that they're done in the wig biz, please make sure you leave those questions in the comment section of this particular video or any of the videos in this specific series. Don't leave them on my wig reviews because I won't see them, but leave them on these videos and I may use them for a follow-up video. I've always subscribed to the notion that knowledge is power, so be sure to like, share, and subscribe, but share this video to everybody you know who wears wigs, because these videos in this series are going to shed so much light on the Caucasian wig industry, and I hope that that will help us all become better informed consumers. This is going to kick it off with 3 very common questions that people ask about the hair. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to address is, why the heck is the part always on the left on monofilament part wigs? I hear this question at least 2-3 times a day. Usually the part is on the left because most people are right-handed, and it's easier and more intuitive for them to part on the left. Like with most mass-produced products, you're going to sort of be left having to cope with what the majority wants. So why do they all use food names? Well, they don't all use food names. There are plenty of companies that use numerical codes. But here's the thing about American women, and I blame Barbie. I don't know if you remember that there was a Barbie that would talk that was like, math class is hard.
Math class is tough. Heidi dresses up fun. I'll always be here to help you. Do you have a crush on anyone? Math class is tough.
A lot of American women and men, frankly, are kind of allergic to numbers. My background is in sociology and computer science, and my bachelor's was in sociology. So this is something that, you know, we've known for a really long time in sociology circles, that culturally speaking, we just happen to live in a society that places a lot of emphasis on language and really is kind of mathophobic. So what happens is, even if you take the time to learn the numerical codes, they're often quite intimidating just because they're numbers for a lot of people. And they get sort of scared by the numerical codes, or if they're not scared of them, they get them confused really easily even after they learn them. So, you know, there's this initial hurdle that the codes themselves are kind of difficult to learn, and they're not always super consistent from brand to brand because they've all got their own little, you know, pigmentation formulation going on. That's one thing that's really different from brand to brand, is the pigment formulations. Even if they are sharing the same factories, they're very unique to those brands. The codes themselves are kind of tricky to learn, and even after you learn them, they can be easy to confuse, you know, because they don't follow any rhyme or reason, really. And they're different between human hair, heat-friendly, synthetic, and synthetic. So it's just a whole world of confusion. So that's why not all brands, especially brands that sell all 3 of those types of fibers, they don't tend to use a lot of the numerical codes, because that's confusing for people, and people get kind of intimidated by not only the amount of knowledge you need to know, but also the codes themselves. For example, John Renau doesn't use that many color codes really, and their color codes actually make some kind of sense. So they've got this color called FS27, all right? So FS27's like nickname is strawberry syrup, but the real name of that color is FS27. Do people actually call it FS27, or do they call it strawberry syrup? That's what I'm getting at here, that even after they learn what the color is all about and they kind of learn what the code is, they'll still call it by the English name because we have a bias against numerical anything in American society, unless you're like me and you're like a computer geek or a math nerd, and then you're going to be all about them. I call those by their numerical codes because it's more precise, and because, frankly, it's fewer syllables. It's easy to say. You know, but the nickname is what most people call it because it's a little bit more user-friendly. So why, even if they have to choose an English sounding nickname to make the colors make sense and make them a little bit more user friendly, why do they pick food? You know, Raquel Welch doesn't always pick food, even though they're starting to. You know, they've got Bronze Sable and a bunch of other, you know, color names that are not necessarily food related. Why does everybody seem to be gravitating towards food? Well, it's a really easy answer, and that's because coming up with universally relatable English sounding names that are basically metaphor, if you think about it. They're made to invoke an image of what that color is gonna look like. It's really, really hard to find something that can do a better job of that is universally relatable that isn't food. Like, food does a great job of being universally relatable to most people. Like, when you say the words chocolate cherry together, you immediately start thinking of what it would look like if you smushed a cherry and put it up against a piece of chocolate. Oh, okay. Is that what that color's gonna look like? Yeah, more or less. So that is why they do that, because they want it to be easy to remember. They want it to be very evocative. And so that way, when people are trying to think about what these colors look like online, they can instantly relate to that. And that gets to the other part of this, because this is complicated, but you're way more likely to see the food names for brands that emphasize online sales, because there's that burden on the behalf of the retailers to try to explain what the colors look like that people who are buying wigs in person don't have to worry about. So the companies that are more geared towards online sales tend to gravitate towards food names. So the last question, why Velcro versus hooks or a bra enclosure in the back of the wig for the adjustment? And if you don't know what I'm talking about this stuff in the back here. You can see on this Renau Paris wig that there's like a bra enclosure back here. Some brands like Estetica use a hook, and others like John Renau use Velcro. Well, the Velcro looks like a fancy feature. It's easy to use. It's especially easy if you're, you know, arthritic or something like that and you have difficulty, you know, manipulating the hooks and the straps. But in reality, they've all got their pros and cons, and there's a real good reason why a company might want to use the bra approach or the hook enclosure as opposed to Velcro. And you might be like, what's that? Well, have you ever adjusted the Velcro? A lot of times in the back of your wig, you end up kind of damaging the Velcro and damaging the felt. And on top of that, if you wash the wig multiple times, the Velcro will stop working. So Velcro's easy to use. It lays a little flatter, and it will encourage more felt features on the interior of the cap of the wig. Those are all big pluses, right? But the con is that if you use Velcro adjusters in the back of the wig, like, you have to set it and forget it. If you move it around multiple times, or if you wash the wig frequently, it will damage the Velcro to the extent that it will no longer work effectively. That doesn't happen with the hook enclosures, and it doesn't happen with the bra enclosures. You just kind of have to pick your favorite flavor, I guess. And with me, I don't have a preference because I realize that both have an upside and a downside. So again, if you would like me to answer your favorite burning wig question, make sure you leave that in the comments section. And if you like somebody's question or you share the same question, make sure you hit reply and that you like it and that it bumps it up in my visibility, so that way I know to make it next time around. And remember to like, share, and subscribe, especially to share, so that way if you know anyone who's ever had wig questions like this, they can take part in our series, and that way they can get really in-depth answers to questions that they may have had this entire time. And I look forward to giving you the answers. I feel like the more we all know collectively, the more we can help each other out, the less frequently we're gonna have to return stuff, the less frequently we're gonna end up being frustrated and have to deal with all these headaches. And that's a service that me, personally, Heather, and my store, CysterWigs, want to be able to provide to you. That's kind of our shtick. So if you like that, please be sure to check out our store. That's www.CysterWigs, CYSTER, because I have polycystic ovary syndrome. Get it? Cystic? I know it's gross, but it's what we do. And until next time, I look forward to making another one for you next Monday. Bye-bye.